Well, good morning and welcome to the 2014 Office for Learning and Teaching Conference. The title of the conference is Learning and Teaching for Our Times, and what times? The subtitle is Higher Education in the Digital Era. I would like to begin by acknowledging the Gadigal people who are the traditional owners of the land on which we're meeting today, and pay my respects to their elders both past and present. For those of you who don't know me, my name is David Sadler. I'm the DVC for Students and Education at the University of Tasmania, and the reason I've got the gig to stand in front of you is I'm a member of the OLT's Strategic Advisory Committee. It's a great privilege for me to be your MC today. I have the pleasure of extending a warm welcome to our guest speaker for today, Mr. Andrew Norton from the Grattan Institute, as well as Uncle Chika Madden, who will in turn graciously welcome us to Gadigal country, and to Professor Deborah Terry, Vice-Chancellor at Curtin University, who will deliver some opening remarks. I would also like to extend a welcome to other VCs in the room, provosts, fellow deputy vice-chancellors, pro-vice-chancellors, deans, heads of school, policy people, and everybody committed to high-quality teaching and learning. It's great to see the conference has representation from across the HE sector here in Australia, as well as from New Zealand. And obviously conferences present valuable opportunities for the networking, the sharing and generation of ideas, and it's a great tribute, I think, to the efforts of the OLT in organising a conference that is both extremely timely and will do just that. Now, I think it would be perverse of me to be MC and not start with a few opening comments about where we currently stand and the timeliness of this conference. It is fair to say, I think, that the OLT has done relatively well in the recent federal budget process, and that's a good sign, I think, for our sector. And the timeliness of this conference, as we stand on the verge of what is said to be the biggest shake-up in higher education in 30 years, is obvious. Whether it be the implication for the student experience, or perhaps for student expectations of that experience, or the expectations of what students expect from their academic teachers, the workforce, which is a major theme of this morning. And perhaps in a more competitive environment, how we preserve the models of cooperation and sharing, the sharing of innovations and good practice, and perhaps even as budgets tighten, share teaching itself. How do we do that in a more competitive environment? And this conference seeks to answer some of those big questions, centering its focus on innovation and change, particularly the developments in technology and the impact on delivery of learning and teaching in Australian universities. But it's also an opportunity for the OLT to showcase the work that it has been done in this space, and that we will all, in essence, be able to benefit from that through taking home some resources or knowledge. So first up this morning, we will hear from Andrew Norton, who will get us thinking about the implications for learning and teaching in a freer market for higher education in Australia. Following that, Professor Kerry Lee Crowes will speak to us about a 2013 University of Western Sydney whole of university curriculum renewal process of undergraduate programs, which has been running, or is running, for over a 3-year period. Following Kerry Lee, a panel of experts will take us through a number of issues, as I already mentioned, around the workforce facing academics and others involved in learning and teaching. And we also have presentations on industry partnerships on issues in Indigenous teaching and learning, where technology can ensure holistic approaches. After lunch, we will have an opportunity to explore and consider developments in learning analytics, in comparability of academic standards, in assessment, and in English language support. And then we'll have a focus on internationalisation, and then move into the perhaps more informal part of the day with the poster session and cocktails on the terrace, which precede the formal dinner. At the dinner, Mr. David Coleman MP, Member for Banks, will deliver the keynote address, and we'll also witness the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the OLT and ACO Aotearoa, the OLT's sister organisation in New Zealand. And we're pleased to see our colleague Dr. Peter Colby here to do the honours. The 2012 OLT Fellows will also be presented with their fellowship pins, but I understand only one of them will be here this evening. There is an important feedback loop here, and I do invite you to use the hashtag on the screen, I think it was on the screen, to tweet your comments, thoughts, or sack the MC views. Okay. I now would like to invite Uncle Chika Madden onto the stage for the Welcome to Country. Uncle Chika Madden is a respected Sydney elder and has lived in and around the Redfern and inner city area most of his life, serving the Aboriginal community. He's a life member of the Redfern All Blacks and has joined us here today on Gadigal land, representing the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council. Uncle Chika Madden.
Good, thank you. Good morning, folks. My name is Charles Madden, but known around the inner city as Chika. That's a nickname I got many years ago going to Redfern Public School, which is now NCIE, the National Centre for Indigenous Excellence. I've grown up in and around the Redfern, Alexandria area, on Gadigal land. That's the land we're on at the moment. I'm a director with the Aboriginal Medical Service at Redfern. I've been on the board there for over 40 years. An ex-director with the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council, but still an active member. Also an ex-director with the Redfern Aboriginal Housing Company and Aboriginal Hostels Australia. I'm from Gadigal land, that's the land we're on at the moment. I'd like to take this opportunity this morning to extend a warm and sincere welcome to all my Aboriginal brothers and sisters who may have travelled here, non-Aboriginal brothers and sisters. Welcome to Gadigal land. Aboriginal land, the Gadigal clan is one of 29 that makes up the Eora Nation. The Eora Nation is bordered by 3 distinctive landmarks. We have the Hawkesbury River to the north, and the Nepean to the west, and the Georges River to the south. Those 3 rivers form the boundaries of the Eora Nation. Folks, if you've travelled across this great city of ours this morning, the state or this great country, welcome to Gadigal land. If we have any brothers and sisters here from the Torres Strait or further afar across the seas, welcome. Welcome to Gadigal land. Enjoy the morning, have a safe and trouble-free trip home, and once again, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you. Enjoy the morning.
Well, I'd like to thank Uncle Chika Madden for that very warm welcome to our conference, and now move to invite Professor Deborah Terry to give the opening remarks. For those of you who know Deborah, she's the Vice-Chancellor and President of Curtin University and has had a distinguished research career in psychology spanning more than 25 years, and is a member of the OLT's Strategic Advisory Committee and chair of its Fellowship Standing Committee. So, Deborah.
Thank you very much, David, for that kind welcome, and can I also thank, Uncle Chika Madden for his very warm and gracious welcome to country. Thank you very much. I'm very pleased and indeed honoured to be here today to welcome everybody to the first OLT conference, Learning and Teaching for Our Times, Higher Education in the Digital Era. And before I begin, I would also like to acknowledge the Gadigal people, the traditional owners of the land on which we're meeting today, and pay my respects and my thanks to their elders past and present. As David has already pointed out, the conference program, I think, appropriately covers a diverse range of topics. I think this is a wonderful reflection of the extent to which our universities have been and are still very actively engaged in the wide range of issues currently impacting on teaching and learning. And I think it also reflects the critically important role that the Office of Learning and Teaching plays in supporting a range of projects, fellowships and targeted commissioned projects. And I think it's very heartening to see that the OLT has got continued funding through this current budget. The OLT performs an incredibly important role in the sector, and I think this conference attests to that role. Technology is obviously a key factor that's already having widespread effects on what we do. But my sense is that none of us have really yet grasped the extent to which its impact will be genuinely transformative. So it's very appropriate that the conference is focused on higher education in the digital era, and I'll come back to that theme in a moment. But given the scale of policy reform that we are as a sector currently facing, I was also very pleased to see that the conference has a number of themes beyond technology. And essentially the focus is very broad. At a meta level, I see the integrating theme as being one of change and one of innovation. So from this perspective, I'm sure that others here agree with me that we're delighted that Andrew Norton will be presenting this morning, and his session on the impact of the recently announced higher education reforms is particularly timely, and we'll look forward to that discussion. But the sessions on the professionalisation of the academic workforce, graduate employability and curriculum renewal are also very timely. And Dr. Peter Coulbert's presentation on supporting priority outcomes for success in higher education in New Zealand will also be very welcome, given that I think there's a tendency for us all to become very focused on the national context. So I think it'll be good to hear Peter's reflections on what's been happening in New Zealand. And as a reflection of the environment of change and transformation that we are currently in, very appropriate that the conference will finish with a panel of previous recipients of the Prime Minister's Award for Australian Teacher of the Year on the very open-ended topic, the future is ... The question seems to be a particularly apt one at this point in time, and I can't think of a better group of people who will hopefully bring clarity to such a question. As we all know, education globally, like so many industries, is facing dramatic change. Emerging technologies are overwhelming traditional models of education, redefining long-held concepts of how best to teach students and to engage them. Obviously, one reflection that many people in this room have been debating over the past couple of years is the seismic shift that we saw in education with the recent advent of MOOCs, or massive open online courses. The place of MOOCs in higher education is now evolving as universities grapple with issues such as financial viability, long-term sustainability, and the potential unbundling of our degree programs. But MOOCs haven't been the death knell for higher education predicted by some in 2012, but they will no doubt impact on the future of learning in our universities. As Sean Gallagher and Jeff Garrett concluded in their recent report on disruptive education, the future is bright, but it will require radical change to a centuries-old model. Beyond MOOCs, the more complex questions that universities need to answer is what do MOOCs and technology-enabled learning opportunities mean for the campus experience? What is the value add of this experience in the digital era? How do we fully embed the flipped classroom model? What role will the extracurricular play in the future? And how will our assessment models and our approaches to assessment need to change? To quote Thomas Friedman in the New York Times, Institutions of higher learning must move, as the historian Walter Russell Mead put it, from a model of time served to a model of stuff learnt. We're moving to a more competency-based world where there will be less interest in how you acquired the competency in an online course, at a university, or in a company-administered class, and more demand to prove that you've actually mastered the competency. Interestingly, Friedman wrote that article after a 2-day conference run by MIT and Harvard entitled Online Learning and the Future of Residential Learning. In his words, aka, how can colleges charge $50,000 a year if my kids can learn it all for free for massive open online courses? A comment that certainly resonates in our context as we all seek to respond to new policy settings and the move to a deregulated fee environment here in Australia. I was fortunate enough to attend that conference along with my colleague Phil Long, previous colleague from the University of Queensland, and as some of you would have heard me say before, what struck me at the time, beyond the content, which was very interesting, was the fact that there were so many university presidents and vice-chancellors there. I've, over the years, been to many teaching and learning conferences and enjoyed my Deputy Vice-Chancellor academic colleagues immensely and the fellowship among that group and the collegiality. But you often don't see too many presidents and vice-chancellors at conferences focused on teaching and learning. And my sense was that they were there because the questions that we do need to answer are big questions, and they are questions that will resonate right across the sector, not only in the US, but certainly here in Australia. How do we embrace and realise the opportunities afforded by technological change in a way that enhances what we do so that we remain highly relevant as places of higher learning, able to attract, inspire, retain, and provide students with the skills and attributes that they need to be successful? The digital revolution is challenging our traditional higher education practices and our landscape. It's challenging our regulatory framework, our teaching methods, our infrastructure, and the skills that we need to foster and support in our staff. And in a changing policy environment, we will be meeting these challenges at a time when student expectations will undoubtedly rise and when the focus will increasingly be on demonstrating the quality and value of what we offer. So in concluding, as the Australian higher education landscape changes, the OLT's efforts in supporting sustained quality improvement and strategic change for learning and teaching is more valuable and more essential than ever before. But the office, and indeed the sector more broadly, needs the people in this room to ensure that we do rise to the challenges afforded by the new environment. My experience, both as a former Deputy Vice-Chancellor academic and working in 2 different institutions, is that the Australian higher education sector has a long record of being innovative, of understanding the changing external environment, of leading change and turning challenges into opportunities. As we prepare for the future, both from a policy point of view and from the perspective of a sector that will undoubtedly be transformed in the digital era, I can't think of a more talented, committed and innovative group of people to ensure that our individual institutions are sustained and indeed strengthened in this new environment. I wish you all the very best for a successful, informative and enjoyable conference, and I look forward to hearing the outcomes. Thank you very much.